Hi, my name is Adam Reichert, co-host of the Talk Eastern Europe podcast. I'm sure you have heard about the country of Belarus, which has been dominating international news headlines, and the massive protests and violence that broke out there. To understand this country better, we have prepared a special documentary podcast series called The Story of Belarus, the nation, its history, and a new hope. In this 10-episode documentary, we explore the country in greater detail. You can learn more by visiting www.neweasterneurope.eu/Belarus or listen anywhere you find podcasts.
Noonan. When you're sick, every minute counts. So don't go anywhere. Go to dispatchhealth.com where high-quality medical care comes directly to you. No getting out of a sick bed. No crazy driving to an emergency room. No endless paperwork. No hospital waiting rooms. Visit dispatchhealth.com to learn about our medical professionals, then make house calls. Dispatch Health is covered by Medicare and most major insurance. Go to dispatchhealth.com.
Regina King for Cadillac Escalade.
Let's say you make it to the top. What's next? Relish in the glory of your accomplishments? Okay, sure, for a minute. But then you move forward. Take the 2021 Escalade. Cadillac's newest arrival is more than just a celebration of iconic luxury. It's the most technologically advanced Escalade ever. Because arriving is just the beginning.
The 2021 Cadillac Escalade. Never stop arriving.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
The FBI is stepping in to investigate voter fraud in the 2020 presidential election. Some of the data being used comes from the Amistad Project. Former Kansas Attorney General Philip Klein is the director. He tells Newsmax what their independent investigation has found.
We crunch the data from the government, and we actually contact the voter, and we see if what they say they did is reflected accurately in the voting. And we've come up with tens of thousands of Republican ballots that were not counted. We've come up with hundreds of thousands of Republicans who say they never requested a ballot, but they voted absentee by somebody else. We've identified people outside of the state who voted within the state, and all of this occurred in the key swing states that we're speaking about.
Also discovered, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg dumped $400 million into local jurisdictions. USA Radio News. The 10 to 12-foot metal structure monolith found in southern Utah last week went missing. A few days later, and 6,000 miles distance, another monolith has been discovered in Europe. USA Radio News, Dan Naraki.
An odd metallic structure has appeared on a hill in northern Romania after a similar piece disappeared from the Utah desert. The 10 to 12-foot silver monolith appeared in Utah last week, seemingly from nowhere, with many comparing it to the monolith seen in the film 2001: A Space Odyssey. The U.S. Bureau of Land Management was able to document its existence before it was removed over the weekend by what they called an unknown party or parties. Now, a similar structure has been spotted in Romania, near the eastern Romanian city of Piatra Neamț. As of yet, no one has claimed responsibility for either structure. From the USA Radio News Ohio Bureau, I'm Dan Naraki.
Although similar, the monoliths appear to have different textures and angles at the top. Two battleground states, Wisconsin and Arizona, certify their election results in favor of President-elect Joe Biden. President Trump continues his claim of massive voter fraud. USA Radio News. Somewhat of a mediocre game, the Seattle Seahawks beat the Philadelphia Eagles 23-17 in last night's Monday Night Football game. After the loss, head coach Doug Peterson tells us where the team needs to go from here.
Calm today. Restrictions apply. See cbs.com/weekly ad for details.
In 1604, King James I gathered 47 scholars who began translating the ancient scriptures, completing them in 1611 with what we know today as the King James Version of the Bible. For over 400 years, the King James Version has been the trusted translation for millions of believers, capturing the majesty of God's Word and shaping the worship of generations. Christians have turned to the King James Version of the Bible for faithful and beautiful renderings of God's Word. Its rich tradition has guided generations of pastors, authors, and scholars, while its relevant language continues to shape our words today. The scriptures come alive as you read through the Bible in the beautiful language of the King James Version. Finding a KJV Bible you can trust should be just as easy as trusting the KJV itself. At thekingjamesbible.com, you'll find a tool built to make searching for a new quality KJV Bible as easy as possible, no matter your needs. Whether you need large print study helps or premium leather bindings, you can find it and more at thekingjamesbible.com.
This wishes for a joyous Christmas and a new year filled with love, happiness, and prosperity. This is the wish of your friends at Dragonfly Running. 10 LaGrange Street in Noonan. 470-414-1430. For all your running needs, it's Dragonfly Running. Happy holidays. Your run begins at the end of your comfort zone.
Hey, Mom and Dad, you want to teach your child biblical values that will last a lifetime? Why don't you check out the best-selling Adventure Bible? It's the #1 Bible for kids, allowing them to take an exciting journey through each chapter with full-color illustrations, memory verses, hands-on activities, and more. The Adventure Bible is now available in 4 translations. It's the perfect Bible to encourage your children to stay in Scripture. Do you know at AdventureBible.com you'll find over 700 free games, activities, teaching resources, and more. Visit AdventureBible.com today.
Hey, I'm Jimmy Ellis, and I'm the pastor here at Noonan City Church. I want to thank you. You'll find as you walk through that we focus on 3 areas primarily. One is worship, small groups, and local missions. And our purpose is transforming lives for Jesus' sake, helping individuals experience that transformation. And we use these 3 areas, worship, small groups, and local missions, to help individuals experience that. I hope that as you walk through that you'll get a sense of who Noonan City Church is, and I hope that you'll come and worship with us soon. Take care, and God bless.
Tune in every Tuesday morning from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. for Faith Works with Pastor Jimmy Ellison. Pastor Ellison has the privilege of interviewing leaders in Noonan who are making a kingdom impact, modeling for our community that faith does indeed work. So don't miss an episode of Faith Works with Pastor Jimmy Ellison, Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., only on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key.
Good morning. It's now time for Faith Works with Pastor Jimmy Ellison from the Noonan City Church. Conversation with Christian leaders in the community where faith really does work. Here's your host this morning of Faith Works, Pastor Jimmy Ellison.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Apostle Harris, and I am filling in again for Pastor Jimmy Ellison, my good friend. And I have another friend of mine here today, and we're going to talk about Christmas in Coweta.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Kelly Yeager. A lot of you probably are familiar with her name. And she's the director over Bridging the Gap. But I'm going to let her tell you about what she does there, and then we're going to start talking about Christmas in Coweta, because I felt like we needed to get this out so that we can get this to as many families as possible. So, Kelly, tell them who you are and what you do.
My name is Kelly Yeager Nelson. I'm the executive director at Bridging the Gap. I have been here in Noonan for about 1.5 years now, so this will be my second Christmas with Bridging the Gap, and I just finished up our second Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow.
So at Bridging the Gap, most people know Bridging the Gap is about food. That's really the tip of our iceberg.
Yes.
But there are other services that we provide to people at Bridging the Gap.
Okay.
We act as a connection to other agencies that provide things that we do not, utility help,
Awesome.
things like that. But every year, one of the programs that we do immediately on the heels of Thanksgiving is Christmas in Coweta. And last year we helped over 2,000 kids actually receive Christmas.
Wow.
And so what we do is we start, that process actually starts in July of every year. And we work with churches, faith-based organizations, and agencies and individuals in the community to sponsor kids, actually to sponsor the family of the children, but with the children in mind, to make sure that the parents can provide Christmas to their children, which is really important, because for us, it's about when someone comes to us and they're in crisis, it's about helping them by feeding them first, serving them, and helping with the restoration of dignity is one of the big things that we do. And so Christmas in Coweta plays a really big role in that. It not only let me step back. So the way that this happens is we have churches in the community that will take on a certain number of kids. Families that live closest to those churches are assigned those children. Their congregation members or the church as a whole takes a certain number of children. They're given the children's ages, favorite colors, things they like to do, all of those kinds of things, so that they can sponsor that child. Most people spend between $100 and $125 per child.
That's not bad.
Right. So, and during the course of the year, we have a lot of organizations and people, individuals who will do like toy drives for us. Because it's really important with these kids in the mind of a child during Christmas. A young child can get a lot of very small things. An older child typically wants something like a bicycle, or they want a basketball hoop and a basketball. Well, those are a little more expensive. When we do the toy drives throughout the course of the year, we use those toys to supplement that gift for that child, because a 13-year-old is still a kid too, and when he sees the 4-year-old receiving boxes and boxes and boxes of very small things, because you know how small children are excited by just wrapped boxes, it makes that child feel like it is a level playing field. And it's really about, again, like I said, helping families provide Christmas to those children. So we do distribution of about between 400 and 600 of these children.
Wow.
We, in the past, had been using the fairgrounds. But this year, we're not able to use the fairgrounds. And that is because COVID testing is going on out there, and you don't want to mix those two crowds together.
Absolutely
so we were a little panicked, to be honest with you, when we found out we weren't going to be able to use it, because it's always such a wonderful facility, and
very ideal.
It really is, and the people who are out there are just wonderful and supportive of what we do with Christmas in Coweta. So we called our good friends at Ashley Park. We asked them if they had any ideas for us, and they have volunteered to let us use a space at Ashley Park to be able to do distribution. So as we gear up for Christmas in Coweta, items come in, they're delivered to us, we take them to the location, we'll be doing distribution at Ashley Park. And then it takes a week of sorting and making sure that all of the children's items are put together and they're grouped together by families. It takes about 600 volunteers to do that sorting over the course of a week. So we're in desperate need of people to help us sort. That's a huge piece of it. So we will be working the week of December 14th through the 17th doing the sorting. On December the 18th, we'll be doing our distribution all day. So people do have to pre-register if we come up to our limit, which we have to make sure that we have all the children sponsored to be able to add someone into our list. We coordinate with other groups, Shop with a Cop, Salvation Army, Toys for Tots, and we coordinate with them to make sure that the children are having their needs met. Some groups are able to do children under the age of 12, but if you have a family that has kids under the age of 12 and then you have kids who are under the age of 18 but older than 12, a lot of times we will share a family with another organization to fulfill the needs of the teenagers, and the other organization, maybe Salvation Army, might fulfill the needs of the younger children. So that's kind of the program in a nutshell. This is a tremendous endeavor, I have to be honest with you.
It is. I can tell.
It's one of those things that when people come, appointment times are assigned to the families, and they come in. They are well, and it'll be a little different this year because we'll have to do it as a drive-in. In the past, we've been able to invite the family to come in. Typically, it's mom and dad, and the children typically aren't with them. Because again, it's about the parents providing Christmas for their children. It's the magic that happens around Christmas. They come in, they're brought into a reveal room. The items that have been purchased are laid out. We have the opportunity to pray with the family.
Yes,
and I think
awesome.
that is a huge piece that we won't lose this year, because as we bring the items out to the vehicles, to the cars, because we'll have a series of lanes that have been set up to have the volunteers bring the items out
Yes.
and actually place them in the trunk of the car or in the back seat of the cart. And we'll have that moment where we'll be able to tell them how important they are.
Yes.
And to be able to pray with them about the holiday or other things that are going on in their life with their family. And I think that's probably the most powerful piece of it.
It is. Which this is something that you do on Saturday mornings as well. When you distribute the different food boxes, you all pray with them. I've had the privilege of doing that along with your first year with Christmas in Coweta. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was thinking, you had already been doing this for more than 1 year. And so when you just said that, I'm thinking, I'm sure you probably told me that already, but it did not click. So I'm thinking, wow.
Well, now the program as a whole has existed for many years.
But
this will be my second Christmas to experience it.
Because last year I had the opportunity to work with you all with Christmas in Coweta, and that was at the fairground. And I tell you, I was blown away with all of the toys and the bicycles. I mean, it was amazing. It was just like, quote unquote, winter wonderland. It was just like you can just go and just pick out whatever you needed, whatever you wanted, and the parents had everything that they pretty much desired for their child to have for that Christmas. And it was great. And the way it was organized, it was well organized, and we were able to, my crew that came with me, we were able to help and enjoy it. And it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear you say that. Almost everyone who comes and experiences it has that reaction. And it's the feeling of just leaving and knowing that you made an impact on someone's life. Even if that child doesn't know it was you.
Right.
You know that you were able to help that family and make an impact for that child. And, it is amazing. We have a wonderful coordinator who comes in every year who is, her name is Jennifer Hooper. And without her, this program could not happen the way that it does. And she runs it like clockwork.
Wow.
And then community partners. If we don't have community partners, if we don't have the churches and other faith-based organizations step forward, and individuals step forward and help us in this endeavor, there would be no way that we would be able to serve as many children as we do. It just truly, it's one of those things that kind of leaves you in awe after you finished it, because you're watching. It's not just individuals. It's you're really watching. I really feel like you're watching the Spirit move through people for service. Yes.
And the other thing that was such a blessing to me was we had an opportunity to meet other people. I am in the people's business, so I love meeting other people. And we had a chance to meet people that we had never seen before, didn't know, and we were able to come in not knowing each other and just come together just like a fitted piece of the puzzle and work together so smoothly. And it was just like, okay, and I remember when it was about time for me to leave. Mm-hmm. Of course, I needed to leave, but I was almost like, this is so much fun, I don't want to leave. But then I was able to transition what was told to me to do and how to do it. I was able to transition that information to the people coming behind me, and they were like, oh, yes, good, this is good, I got it. And so, and I said, and this is what you'll do with the next group that come, behind you. Yeah. And so it was such a smooth transition, and I loved meeting the people. I loved seeing the parents coming in and, actually getting the toys and all of the things that they had requested. And in that little room, they were able to show them, and I think that's where they had the prayer, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yes, and that was, and I would definitely say that was a powerful piece.
Yeah.
Because, we can always give toys, we can always give things to people, but most often what's so desperately needed is prayer and just, and to show them that, yes, we want to love on you, we love you, and we want to be the hands and feet of Jesus, but most of all, we want to pray with you.
Yeah.
And because, you may be getting this need met, but what about all the other unmet needs?
Right.
So this is when prayer kicks in.
Yeah, it does. It
does.
And there you would be amazed at how close you feel to the people who've told you what's going on in their life,
yes.
and who have expressed, maybe there was a loss of a job, maybe there was a crisis in a family, maybe there was some kind of breakdown that happened, and to know that there are people who will stand with you, who will hold your hand, who will pray
yes.
with you, who will pray over you.
Yes.
That peace of mind and,
yes.
and that peace that it gives to your soul, I think is quieting and helpful, and can help them to be able to enjoy the expression of the season.
Wow. So let's talk about the volunteer piece of this. This year, you all will be at Ashley Park, as you've already mentioned.
Yeah.
You're going to be at the Monkey Joe's building, which where is that near?
So that's near the administration office for the general manager's office.
Okay.
And so the area will actually be shut down with people. There'll be volunteers will be told what time to arrive. They'll go through an orientation. There's a vetting service as you come in. They register. They're checked off on the list.
Okay.
Because if you are volunteering, you have to be on that list to be allowed into the building.
Good,
because we'll be serving people outside
yes.
Of the building, and they have to have an appointment too. So we can make sure that the items are matched up, because the list for the children have been given out. There are sponsors who have made the purchases, and then we're matching up all of those items for the kids to receive.
Okay.
It's going to be quite a production this year.
I bet.
It's a huge space, though. We're so grateful that they're allowing us to utilize the space.
Okay.
It's an amazing gift. It is an amazing gift. They have been tremendous partners with Bridging the Gap this year. And not only are they helping us with this distribution, but they had a drive-in concert that they did this year, and the proceeds went to Bridging the Gap. And they also did a drive-in movie this year that Bridging the Gap helped to support, and we collected toys at that drive-in movie at Ashley Park. So
wow.
I really have to say they've new partner to me, but tremendously impactful.
This is Ashley Park?
Ashley Park.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
Great management group over there.
Awesome.
So for people to volunteer, though, that process, they have to log in to handsonatlanta.org.
Okay.
So handsonatlanta.org, and then a search bar comes up, and you put in BTG. Or you can put in the city of Noonan, and it'll show. Most of them are opportunities with Bridging the Gap that will show up if you type in Noonan on the handsonatlanta.org site. And we use that site because it's a great volunteering house.
Awesome.
You create an account. It reminds you of your volunteer opportunities coming up. It re-verifies all of the information. And you can also, if you have kids who are in Beta Club or National Honor Society or wanting to do community service, they create an account there. They register to do their volunteer service, and they can track their hours there. So they can go back and actually look at the number of hours they've been with each of the volunteer organizations.
Okay.
We've just found it tremendously impactful, not only for people here in the Coweta County area, but we have people who come and volunteer with us during the course of a week on Wednesday night distribution of food between 4 and 6:30, on Saturday mornings between 8 and 10:30.
Yes.
On Tuesdays and Thursdays when we're serving people between 10 and 2. They come from as far away as Alpharetta to come and serve with us.
Wow.
Which is
Awesome.
tremendous.
Yes.
Tremendous gift. It's been wonderful working with the Hands on Atlanta site.
Wow. Now, so we're going to put, when I post this video, I'm going to put that information about signing up, because you're looking for just as many. I thought I heard you say 600.
Yeah, we need 600 volunteers.
Okay.
So we always have space that is open. Things happen, you know,
Yes,
and
yes.
people maybe who have signed up may not be able to fulfill the obligation that they thought they might be able
okay.
to. But if you go on to handsonatlanta.org and you type in BTG Community Outreach, you'll be able to see every one of the volunteer opportunities, the time it starts, the time it ends.
Okay.
What, if there are special things that you need to know about that time frame, like we'll be lifting items that weigh more than 10 pounds.
Okay.
Or you may also have information about, for example, if you work in our regular warehouse, you cannot wear open-toe shoes in our warehouse. So no flip-flops, no open-toed sandals, those kinds of things.
Right.
So it gives you all of the details. And it lists out a month's worth of opportunities, sometimes multiple months' worth of opportunities to serve with us.
Okay.
It is the best place to go and see everything that we have available on each day of the week. And then these special opportunities like Christmas in Coweta. Again, that time frame is the 14th of December through the 18th of December.
Right.
So if you are interested in serving, you should sign up now. It does fill fairly quickly. We were about halfway to that number before coming in today. We usually see these first 2 weeks of December, we see additional people who are looking for opportunities to serve during the holiday, and they usually sign up during this time frame.
Because when you think about 600, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a lot, but what I'm hearing is that even though you're needing a large number of people to volunteer, but at the same time, you're getting them.
Yeah. And well, it's always something that is open. Like I said, we always have additional needs to help with it.
Right.
And I should state this too. It's not all 600 people at the same time on the same night.
Oh, absolutely not.
So you've got like people who come on the night of the 14th or all day on the 14th will be moving into
Spread
the
it
space
out across the week.
Right. And then the 15th, 16th, and 17th, and then all day the day of the 18th. We'll start at like 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and we'll go until about 8 o'clock that night. Just to fulfill those items.
Now, did you go past Friday last year?
We had, and we have, in the past, we have had some people who were not able to actually pick up on the day.
That's what I thought.
Happened.
Okay.
And we do make accommodations for that. One of the plans we put in place this year is if someone has COVID, we have a special procedure. They let us know if they have had an exposure or actually have COVID-19, and we are able to make arrangements for items to be delivered in a no-touch, no personal interaction way.
Kind of like a porch drop-off.
Yes. That's exactly what it'll be like.
Yes.
It's been such a weird year with
trying
to find ways to actually fulfill the mission. Yeah.
Yes.
And I have to say, I have a very creative staff of people, and right now we no longer know what a box is because we're not thinking in it or even around it anymore.
Right. We're completely out of it.
We are completely out of it.
Oh,
That's true.
wow. And I think it's been like that all the way across the board for everyone. Mm-hmm. I mean, even with the church. We've had, of course I didn't, but we've had to have so many creative ideas to really be able to continue to preach and to teach the Word of God. Yeah. And businesses, restaurants.
Yeah.
I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
Everybody. I was, I was trying to do some business yesterday, and I went to the place, and I was like, why is this door locked? I don't understand this. This is not supposed to be locked. And I was not even thinking COVID. I was just thinking, why is the door locked?
Yeah.
Because where are you? And so I go back to the car. I get in the car, and I called in, and they said, and of course they told me, and they said, we're doing appointments only.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, and I understood that. But I mean, I didn't see anything on the door.
Right.
I'm just trying to figure out, why is the door locked? You sent me the form. I'm supposed to bring it back. Why is it? And of course, they never said anything about making an appointment. But she finally, when I went back to the car and I looked, she came to the door and she was waving me in, but I was on the phone with them. Mm-hmm. So, just mentioning that because of the creativity and the change.
Yeah.
We have had to do a lot of changing this year in 2020. And I mean, it's just been like, ugh. But one thing I will say that has been awesome is that people are still willing to serve.
Oh, yeah, they're still willing to serve and they're still willing to give.
Yes.
And, that, I think that is the biggest piece, because as we come through the holiday, a lot of people will feel the call during the holiday.
Yes.
And there are additional people who will continue to feel the call through the course of the year. And the holiday may be the first time, that they get to come in and actually do service and do service with Bridging the Gap, whether it's feeding people or praying with people, helping people with clothing like we do at the Bridging the Gap office. It's for many of them, this is the first point where they realize that they do have that direct impact on the life of another human being in a positive way.
Yes.
And for many people, that one moment could spark a change in the rest of the direction that they're moving.
Yes.
And I think that's probably the biggest thing that comes out of doing service, whether it's Christmas in Coweta or it's helping to feed people by the distribution of the boxes on a Saturday morning, or it's or coming to volunteer for the Wednesday night distribution that we do.
Yes.
I mean, to be honest with you, during this time frame, we now have food deliveries that go out on Tuesdays. We do a drive-through on Wednesdays. We have other people who come on Thursdays. We have more home deliveries on Fridays.
Yes.
And then on Saturday, we are still consistently doing our regular drive-through. And it just, the need is not dissipating. It's continuing to grow.
My goodness. Now, I will say that, and because I have you here and we're talking about Bridging the Gap and we're talking about Christmas in Coweta, but at the same time, it would just not be fair to make mention, as you've already mentioned, the other services that you all provide. And so it would not be fair to make mention of that. And I'm just seeing, I'm really getting a chance to see this year, which would be considered the worst year. I'm just getting a chance to see myself how this thing works. Now, I know I met you hanging out with Pastor Jimmy always. Yeah. I met you, and he says, this is the new executive director for Bridging the Gap. And I was like, okay. And then, of course, now that I've gotten to know you, and I'm thankful that I have gotten to know you, and I can see the operation, and I will say it is awesome. It is awesome. And with the things that you all are doing, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, you have it's set up. I mean, I'm sure the location and what you have to work with, probably not as ideal, but you make it work. And that's what's important. You're making it work. And you have the volunteers, and they're coming in, and they're assisting. And, here I am. I found myself even being a part of your distribution. Oh, yeah. And, of course, I can't take any credit for myself because, I would not be able to do that on that Friday evening had you not asked me to help. And I'm grateful to help. But this is the kind of service that's taking place at Bridging the Gap, and just being able to see the people get this and just be thankful. Yeah. And I'm constantly letting them know, this is we're just an extension of Bridging the Gap on a Friday evening, for you to come and pick up this food. As it was last Wednesday
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, Wednesday was amazing to watch the way that you all were set up at Winston-Dodell, the services that you were offering, the food distribution boxes with turkeys. I mean, it was amazing to watch the collaboration of ministries come together to be able to provide that food and clothing and the outreach.
Yes.
To let people know that they're loved.
Yes.
It's awe-inspiring to watch those things happen.
It is.
And I have to be honest with you, every time something comes up with us, every time there's a challenge that needs to be met, we express it, and God provides it. And I think that is probably the thing about Bridging the Gap that is the most impressive thing to me, or awe-inspiring. There are times where we think, oh my goodness, we're not going to be able to meet the need.
Do it, right,
and, I think one of the best stories that the staff tells is Bridging the Gap was short on meat. And this particular story happened prior to me to getting to Bridging the Gap.
Okay.
And it's when we were a smaller operation. We now pick up from 12 grocery stores in the area, and we've developed a relationship with HelloFresh. None of those things would happen, though, if God wasn't providing for us. And, you have to really lay the glory for all of that at His feet.
Yes,
because, we're just doing the toting.
Yes, absolutely.
of the items. But getting back to the story, we only had a few places we were picking up from. Meat was one of those things that was kind of a precious commodity, something that you would hope that you would get a bumper group of meat, so you'd have enough for the weekend. There wasn't enough meat in the freezer. They all came in. They decided to pray during one of the staff meetings. And 2 days later, a truck driver had a semi-truckload of food that was frozen meat that he got there late, and the grocer would not accept it.
Wow.
And he was told by the company to donate it out, and he wound up at the stairs of Bridging the Gap. I'd like to say those things are isolated, but they're not. It's a miraculous place to be. Yes. It was a miraculous place to be.
A semi-truck?
It was a semi-truckload full of meats, assorted meats.
Good, fresh meat, frozen,
ready to go. The guy didn't hit the window in time, and if you're not there when the receiver is there, it gets turned away. But that's just one small, tiny example. When we find ourselves, we found the need increasing. When COVID hit, I have to be honest with you, that week that the governor shut the state down, we weren't getting any food coming in. The grocery store shelves were bare, and that was where we got the bulk of our food.
Wow.
We asked the other organizations in town that did food pantry work to come in. Is this happening to you? What's going on? The school system came in. And we all realized, hey, this is a problem. And at that moment, we decided at Bridging the Gap, hey, we have to plan for the long term with this.
Yes.
But we were very, very fortunate because we had two of our church partners step up at that moment in time, and they provided funding for us to be able to purchase food when we didn't have it. And it got us through that bump. Community Christian and Foundation both stepped up, and they were going to try to raise $10,000 collectively for us. Foundation did $10,000 in 10 minutes. I watched the video online, and I was in my home sobbing as the money was
pouring in. Wow.
And Community Christian came forward with $10,000 also. It was just a tremendous blessing because we literally did not know how we were going to be able to put food into boxes in the following week.
Wow.
We then were able to rearrange our warehousing. We knew we had to be prepared for storing and stockpiling.
Yes.
And we're fortunate enough to have Walt Gutierrez, who owns Noonan Toyota. give us a generous donation for a new freezer.
Yes,
and
that was awesome.
And a lift gate for our truck. And I remember my warehouse manager, she looked at me and she said, "We're never going to fill that." And I said, "Oh no, it's here. He's going to fill it," meaning God. God is going to fill it.
Yes.
And you know what? It didn't take very long, and it was full.
And I'm just thinking, just looking back at last Wednesday when you brought that big box of turkeys over there.
Yeah.
What if the lift gate was not there? We would have been tossing turkeys out of that box to people to put them in another box or to put them on the table.
Yeah.
But all of these things have worked together.
They have.
For the good of bridging the gap.
Somebody else had a bigger plan. We're not in charge. We're just following the plan that's being laid out.
And that's what we have to do. So that's an awesome testimony of your faith and trusting God. That's where we all have to be with these different ministries that we are over and the ministries that we're in charge of. If we're going into these ministries and trying to do this on our own, I can imagine by now that you would have already been ready to quit. Drinking,
Hair on fire.
Yes, everything. Because if you're going to run a ministry, if you're going to do a ministry, and it doesn't matter what it is, you really do need God to be first and foremost.
You do.
And you need to be relying on Him. Because I was thinking while you were talking, with all of this stuff being poured in to your ministry, even the churches with the funding, and the food being donated. Now, let me go back and ask you this. Sure. With the funding from the two churches, you were getting those funds to purchase food.
We had to, when COVID first struck and the grocery stores didn't have food on the shelves, we had to actually go and purchase food. That is not something we're accustomed to doing.
Exactly. That's what I thought.
We made small purchases, but the Atlanta Community Food Bank, when COVID hit, was moving from one physical location to another, and their inventory had been dwindled so they could make the move.
Right.
So the Atlanta Community Food Bank had no food.
Right.
The grocery stores had no food, and then we were in a position of what we had on the shelves was all we had left.
Right.
So to have church partners step up and just say, "We're going to do this for you," and to watch it come through the way that it did, and then to have other partners step up, like U.S. Foods and other food service companies had commercial orders that had been canceled, and the food was going to go bad because they couldn't deliver this food. Restaurants were closed, schools were closed.
Wow.
And we began to get those items. And, this is the thing that I think most people, when you're talking about collaborating, when you're talking about working with all of the moving pieces in the community, when we had that abundance of food, we then reached out to other agencies and said, "We have food, please come and get it."
Yes.
We gave to Meals on Wheels.
Yes.
We gave to Salvation Army. We gave to the AO House. We gave to I-58 Ministries. We gave to others in the community who also needed it to distribute to people. And because these items had come from food distributors, we were able to distribute that food throughout the community because there was an abundance of it.
Right.
So for us, I think one of the big things, and I think it's become more apparent to everyone, is that when you're in this business of serving people, you have to be in the business of being in collaboration with others who are serving people.
That is so true.
Also.
That's so true. So in other words, you cannot get all the food at Bridging the Gap and hoard it up and then watch it be thrown out to the pigs, because you even share with the pigs. That's awesome.
Yeah, if it's bad.
If it's bad,
it goes to the...
But if you weren't collaborating and if you weren't sharing when the need is there, then that's what would happen. And so that's an awesome thing too, that you are able to have these other businesses pour into your ministry, but you can also pour into other ministries when the need is there.
Absolutely.
And that's awesome. That's awesome. And that's how we have to be. And Kelly, it goes back to what we were talking about on last Tuesday with Will and I. Mm-hmm. We were talking about being a part of the kingdom of God. Yeah. This is a part of the kingdom of God. This is a big part of the kingdom of God. We often look at the church as being the kingdom of God. the church itself is not just the kingdom of God. It is a part of the kingdom, but we have places like your place as well as the other places, and we're all a part of the kingdom of God. We're doing kingdom business, kingdom ministry, and we have to have that kingdom mindset. That is not, you're not trying to build your own kingdom.
No.
You're just there as a distribution center to reach out and help in so many different ways.
Right, we're the conduit.
Yes, the conduit. And I mean, I would not be distributing at my place had you not asked me to help with this. And so is it with, the other ministries and other places that you're working through to get this food out, because you don't want to see it go to waste. You don't want to see it thrown away.
Well, we don't want to see people go hungry.
Exactly.
That's the number one. I mean, when that's your motivating factor, when it's making sure people are not hungry, there should not be a single hungry person in this community.
Exactly.
We all have to work together to make sure that food is getting to the people who need it.
Exactly.
And I don't mind sharing it to get it out to the people who need it.
Exactly.
And it's always it's reaching out to those partners, like reaching out to you and saying, hey, we wanna broaden our distribution.
Yes.
Different times, different places, different locations, so that we can reach as many of those people as possible. Now, the other thing that we do is that we do keep information about who comes to us.
Yes.
Because it's important for us to track trends. What's going on in the community? Are we noticing there's one area of town that has a spike in need? Are there certain age groups that need more help than other age groups?
Right.
Where is the demand coming? Because then we can go to our partners who perhaps service that particular piece of the community and say, hey, we're seeing this trend in our demographics and in the data that we're keeping. And that's data that is our data. We don't share people's names and addresses or anything like that.
Absolutely.
But it's important to let other organizations know, hey, we have a spike in elderly who need to have home delivery, and we need home delivery drivers. Are you delivering to people in this area? Can we work with you to piggyback and get additional food out to some of their neighbors who are also in need of food at this time? But it's other things too. It's making sure that winter coats are on the backs of children. It's working with organizations like Noonan City Church to help support the Nest for for those who are homeless,
which is awesome.
When the temperature drops below freezing. Those are all things that's really important. It's working with organizations like Coweta Force. When we have someone who comes to us who shares with us that they're struggling and need support of a sober community, that we can then connect them to Coweta Force. It's looking at that tip of the iceberg, the food, and realizing that when people are in crisis with food, they're usually in crisis with something else.
That is so true.
And
so true.
And it could be physical needs, but it can also be spiritual needs.
Yes.
And having relationships with our faith-based partners in the community, it gives us the opportunity to then share with others. Because for many people who are hurting, that's a piece of why they're hurting.
And the key to all of this is what I would say would be not recreating the wheel, but working with the wheel that has already been created. Such as, and that's not to say that someone else will not eventually start up a food distribution center or something of that nature. We're not saying that you can't do that. But we are saying, if it's done, well, then certainly check out the demographics and put it in an area where you can reach other people that perhaps you can't reach, and then go from that route. But if not, work with you, just like it would be for any of us. Let's not recreate, but let's work together with what's already there. Because the more that the more hands and feet that are at your place, the more you can do. Because you can't do it by yourself.
No, we
and
can't
you
do it by
need
ourselves.
other people there working. So let's not. And too often we want to recreate the wheel.
Yeah, I and I think that is just human nature.
It is.
And, we know that we're serving people in Noonan. We
Yes.
know that we're serving other people in Coweta County.
Exactly.
We know that there are people who live on the borders of
Coweta
County,
County, yes.
where it is closer for them to receive services by coming into Coweta County
Yes.
and to come to us or another agency.
Mhm.
But, being able to serve all of those people, if we're not collaborating with others,
Yes.
to be in the right place at the right time
Yes.
to do that distribution, it can. I think it can be really hard.
Oh yeah.
To be able to step back and say, "Hey, I'm doing this little piece, but if I work in conjunction with this other organization
Yes,
or
yes.
group."
Mhm.
Our pieces together make a bigger piece. And
Yes.
then when we bring in a third partner, that piece gets bigger. And we bring in a
Yes.
fourth partner, the picture
It
gets
keeps
bigger
getting
and bigger
bigger.
and bigger.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
it's serving all of those people.
Oh,
And-
yes.
And that's the focus. As long as we continue to focus on serving
Other people. Yes.
And I think that God will continue
To bless and pour
provide
out.
everything
Yes, He will.
that is needed to continue along that path.
Yes, He will. And we cannot get in the business of trying to build our own kingdom.
Yeah.
We've got to stay away from that mentality and that mindset and do what God is calling us to do. And so that's what's so awesome about all of this. But now, getting back to Christmas in Coweta, you need volunteers.
We still need volunteers, and the best way to sign up to volunteer is to go on handsonatlanta.org and then put in BTG Community Outreach. Usually BTG is enough. It'll bring our stuff up. And you can see every time frame, every day, every opportunity that we have available. Groups can sign up. Parents can sign up with their children. But a parent cannot sign their children up to come alone. The parent
Okay.
can bring a child and they can serve together. But children cannot come and serve on their own.
And what's that age limit?
Really, we're looking for kids who are like, as long as their parent is with them. It can be as young as 10, as long as the child is very mature and with their parent. But typically that age is somewhere between 10 and 12 years old. 10 is the youngest we take.
But if they're high school age, they can serve by themselves.
Certainly. If they are high school age, they can serve on their own. They do have to have, if you are a minor and you want to volunteer for Christmas in Coweta or anything else Bridging the Gap does, we do have a sheet that your parent has to sign acknowledging that they know you're volunteering with us.
Excuse me.
No problem.
That's good because I met some of my former students.
Yeah.
Last Friday. No, not last Friday. The Friday before Thanksgiving. Not the Friday before Thanksgiving when we picked up our last pickup.
Yeah.
On a Friday, they were looking at me and I was like, "Hey, how are you?" And they were like, "Oh, yes, that's you, Miss Harris." I said, "Yes." And they were driving and I was like, "Wow." So I knew that they were either probably about 17 maybe years old.
Yeah.
And so they told me that they were volunteering and that they were doing a lot of volunteering. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember the group. I'm not sure if it was Junior Beta Club or something.
Well, Interact Club comes and volunteers. Beta Club, Junior Beta Club, National Honor Society, Noonan Ambassadors.
Right.
We have many kids who are in high school who come and volunteer with us. Groups that are consistent, though, a lot of consistent groups come from Noonan High School.
Awesome.
And do volunteer with us.
Awesome.
And I think that's just proximity.
Yes,
we're so close.
Absolutely.
Literally down the street.
Yes. And they're not far. It's not like driving from Sonoya.
Right.
Because they're at East Coweta High School.
Right. Although we do get kids from East Coweta and from Northgate who come and volunteer with us pretty consistently. But the largest groups
is from Noonan. Because, like you said, the proximity makes a difference. So, you said earlier that you were already up to about 300 volunteers, right?
Somewhere between 200 and 300, I think.
And so you're still needing another 300.
Yeah, we won't be able to do it in the way that we need to do it unless we get those additional volunteers.
Yes.
We really won't turn anyone away who wants to volunteer during this time frame.
Okay, perfect. And of course, you all will be doing your temperature check and your mask. They will have to wear the mask.
Yeah, we our procedure is to ask a series of questions about, have you been ill? Have you been around anyone who's ill? Do you have a fever? We do a temperature screen anytime anyone enters any of our facilities prior to them entering the facility. We do require that a mask be worn. If a person doesn't have a mask, we will have them available for them. But they will not be able to actually volunteer during Christmas in Coweta or other items unless they have a mask.
Have the mask.
Because go ahead.
And I was just going to say, because we will be coming in contact with so many different people, and it's really I guess it would be, even though I'm not big on the mask, it's still a safety precaution, because you don't want to be one of those that's going to have people frantic, basically, or afraid, because
we want to make sure that we're taking every precaution that's possible.
Yes.
We'll also be socially distancing. So, and that's why I wanted to make sure people knew that it wasn't all 600 people at one time.
At one time,
it's not 100 people at one time either.
Right, because that number can be very scary. 600 people. Oh my gosh, I will not be volunteering.
Right, but that's spread over the course of a week, and there's 8 hours in every day.
Yes, and I think you all sign up like on the hour.
We do. They volunteer for 4-hour blocks.
Okay. Because I remember last year when we volunteered, as soon as we got started, it was like, it's time to go.
Yeah.
And it flew by. The time flew by, and it was just like, we weren't there long at all.
Yeah.
But I can say that the Christmas in Coweta was really different, and it was a blessing. And we felt good. The ladies that I brought with me, of course, one being my daughter, and the other one was the other lady at the church. And some of the others wanted to come, but they had to work.
Sure.
But they were like, "Wow, this was fun." And we even went, after we left there, we went and got lunch, and we talked about, our service and how much fun and how overwhelming it was, in a good way.
Yeah.
Like looking at all of the toys and all of the bags of toys that had been sorted and put together, and all of the parents, and then how, because I think you had extra bikes. There were extra bikes, and you said, okay, if they want a bike, give them a bike. So one of the gentlemen was like, do you need an extra bike? And parents were like, sure, I didn't put it on. And he said, here you go. And I'm like,
We had a last minute donation of bicycles that we were not expecting.
Yes.
That did come to us, and we were able to. Some children did have bicycles on their list, but their sponsor was not able to purchase the bicycle and everything else. And I just wanted to say one other thing. I love to hear that it was joyful. That it was joyful for you, because that's what service really is.
Yes.
When you are serving, it does give you that feeling of joy, and what a wonderful feeling to have.
It is a wonderful feeling. And again, thank you, Kelly, for coming and talking with us about Christmas in Coweta and Bridging the Gap in general, because you all are doing a wonderful service over there. I mean, it is awesome. It's awesome. I mean, it's just no other way to describe it. And you are on top of your game, and you're doing the things that you need to do to make it work. So again, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We're going to close this session out today, and thank you, listeners, and thank you, Pastor Ellison.
Thank you for tuning in for this edition of Faith Works with Pastor Jimmy Ellison of the Noonan City Church, located at 17 First Avenue here in Noonan. Noonan City Church, transforming lives for Jesus' sake. Join us every Sunday morning at 9 a.m., 10:30, and 6:30 service. Until next time, have a blessed week.
When you're sick, every minute counts. So don't go anywhere. Go to dispatchhealth.com where high-quality medical care comes directly to you. No getting out of a sick bed. No crazy driving to an emergency room. No endless paperwork. No hospital waiting rooms. Visit dispatchhealth.com to learn about our medical professionals, then make house calls. Dispatch Health is covered by Medicare and most major insurance. Go to dispatchhealth.com. When you're sick, every minute counts. So don't go anywhere. Go to dispatchhealth.com where high-quality medical care comes directly to you. No getting out of a sick bed. No crazy driving to an emergency room. No endless paperwork. No hospital waiting rooms. Visit dispatchhealth.com to learn about our medical professionals, then make house calls. Dispatch Health is covered by Medicare and most major insurance. Go to dispatchhealth.com.